I think for children it's so important for them to see science all around them. They can look at anything and they can see it through the lens of science. It's about asking lots of questions and being really curious about their world, wondering about how water gets to the top of a plant, and they can learn all about that just by designing experiments and exploring it and making discoveries.
Science is all about questioning. It's all about natural curiosity. It's about connecting yourself to a world that people like to make us think is inaccessible in many ways. But it's all part of what we do from the time we're born.
So which one do you think belongs to this tree up here?
The little one? Big one? The biggest one? This one. This one. The biggest one?
Okay, this one. You're right. Way to go.
I think it's really important that children learn about science, because science is everywhere in everything they do. And I think part of the beauty of the program is to show them that a lot of the things we take for granted every day in our lives, there's actual science, or biology in particular, because that's my area, that there's those aspects to it.
Who remembers something very special about the chrysanthemum and the sunflower? Right, excellent. So this is actually how many flowers right here? Well, maybe not millions, maybe 800 might be more, like somebody else said. So if you think about an insect that comes to pollinate this one.
The Scientist in Residence program creates really wonderful and rich opportunities for scientists to share their passion for science and their knowledge with children in elementary schools and with teachers. And the foundation of the program is really the partnerships that develop with one scientist and a team of 2 teachers. And together they decide on a science theme they want to focus on, and they develop a series of 6 hands-on science lessons that build on knowledge from lesson to lesson. And the scientist comes into the classroom. The children get so excited when the scientist visits, and each lesson is around an hour and 20 minutes, and then there's around an hour for the hands-on science component of the lesson, where the kids are generally working in groups on whatever the topic is for the lesson, and then at the end of the lesson there's some closure and brief discussions so the children can share their discoveries. But the main focus is really learning by doing, and very hands-on.
Look, everybody, that's the cockle. Its foot just came out.
His foot?
Yeah, so that's a type of clam, and that's how it moves around. It has a very muscular foot.
Everybody, I can draw this one. What's it doing?
I really like the model because most of the other volunteer work that I do with elementary kids in schools is going in and just doing one lecture at a time or one talk at a time. And it's great, but they're always, I feel like you leave them hanging a little bit. You know, they have so many more questions that you can't address in an hour visit. So I love the model of developing a curriculum for multiple weeks. You can really build week to week, and that extended time frame, I think, also gives students the time to integrate and to contemplate the new things that they've learned.
What's the pink thing inside?
Well, this is called a receptacle. And that's where all the flowers are attached to. Okay? Receptacle.
There's different types of sunflowers?
Yeah, lots of different kinds. So can you see the stigma in this flower?
Yeah, I can.
A really unique component of the Scientist in Residence program is it provides the opportunity for so many relationships to form. The relationships between the scientists and the teachers, and the relationships between the scientist and the students. Because the scientist is not just coming in once to visit the students, they come week after week after week.
Okay. Okay. Do you see these little things right there? Yeah.
That is so cool. And this is the stem?
So actually this is the ovary down here.
Ovary?
The ovary.
Most of us who work in elementary schools now are generalists. And I think science is one of those areas where we have moved from having the science lab in the class, in the school, with the science teacher that teaches everyone science and has that background and passion and all the equipment, to people that are trying to fulfill the requirements of a curriculum, maybe without materials and maybe without much knowledge. And it gets harder and harder as the kids you work with get older, because you either end up dumbing something down because you don't know enough about it and you're afraid of it, or you have to find strategies for being able to empower yourself and involving them. So that's how Scientists in Residence, I think, is really successful, because it helps to build a partnership with somebody that has that field of knowledge.
Now you're going to notice that we have two different Petri dishes, so what do you think is going to happen to one Petri dish? Light and dark, right. And you can also see that there are some seeds in here. Okay? These are mimosa seeds. Now take a look at those seeds. You notice something interesting about them?
Part of the objectives of the program was to introduce students to scientific method, how research is actually carried out, and asking scientific questions. Scientific method is important because otherwise you don't know if your results are sound. You don't know if what you've been observing or the type of data you're collecting actually is meaningful and real. And the students going through the process actually kind of understand then what it means to run an experiment, to try to find the answers to certain scientific questions.
And I think for children, if you give them an opportunity to do an experiment and to have time to really explore it and work by themselves and work with others, they make their own discoveries, and it's so incredibly exciting when they discover new things. They want to share it with everyone, and then they want to do more, and that's where the light comes, when they make their own discoveries and when they see how much they can learn. They're just filled with questions and wonder, and they just want more of it.
So it's generating its own nutrients now from the soil, probably, and the sunshine and the water. So you use it.
Okay, stay seated on your behinds. That's good.
More than anything, I see the role as the scientist is to impart your passion and your enthusiasm to the children. It's not so much, in my opinion, it's not so much about transferring information. There's so much information out there, but for children and the public to be witness to and be engaged with a scientist who is really passionate about what they do, it gets them excited. And it makes them realize that science can be really fun.
This is great. Look, everybody. Okay, we can't move too quickly. What are all these guys stuck on the rocks? Barnacles. If you look really closely, they're feeding. Take a close look and you can see them feeding.
Scientists bring a lot of passion to the classroom, and just sharing their excitement about science and the individual area of science that they focus in generates a lot of interest in students and excitement, and the students become scientists in the classroom and on field trips.
Okay, so see all these little nozzle things here? Yeah, that's going to make it closer or further away depending on what one you use.
Many students just don't realize the opportunities that there are for them in science, as far even as a career goals go. So this is kind of nice to have somebody who is a scientist come into the classroom and work with them and realize that science is not inaccessible, it's not scary. Science is around us every day, and so it's kind of neat because you take those ideas and you bring them into the classroom, and then the students realize that, hey, I can do science. I am a scientist. I'm a researcher. They can do those things.
Look at this. Then we take this little circle thingy.
Show me.
Right here. What am I looking at? Tell me what I'm looking at.
Well, going out to the university shows young children that this is a place they may come to. And then going into an actual lab and seeing how it's set up and all the tools and how things are used. And there again, it just makes learning come alive.
Okay, so these are protective scales, and inside are the seeds. So the pollen finds its way inside to get to the seeds, and then it closes back up again to protect them.
And what really also added to that experience was having her students. So having third year, fourth year university students lead the different activities out in the labs, because their excitement is so evident. And so here we are having older students teaching younger students, and I mean, it was just incredible.
I think this type of community outreach work is extremely, extremely important. I think a lot of the time that there's a disconnect between scientists and the public, and it's really important particularly to reach out to youth so that they understand that a scientist is just like any other person, and someone that they can say, hey, you know, maybe I could be a scientist too.
The textbook experiments are fun, but with the science in residence, we actually get to do things with live animals, and you can see how they actually act instead of just hypothesizing.
Science was real, and they just were so excited, and that was, again, that's what we want, because from there, then the wondering continues, and science is happening.